Mr. President,
Senator from Arizona.
are we in a quorum call?
The Senate is in a quorum call.
I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be eviscerated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, it's been nearly 9 months since the United States had an ambassador to Mexico. The President's nominee to that post, Roberta Jacobson, is eminently qualified for the post. The Arizona Republic noted in an editorial on March 7th that, quote, she's qualified, respected, and needed to do an important job. They're right. For more than 20 years, Ms. Jacobson has been immersed in the regional, political, economic, and security issues related to the Western Hemisphere. In fact, as part of her extensive background, she served for a time as director of the Office of Mexican Affairs at the State Department. She's obviously fluent in Spanish and has earned the respect of her colleagues. She served for 3 years as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Canada, Mexico, and NAFTA issues within the Bureau of Western Hemisphere, experience that would later serve the United States well, given that Mexico is America's third largest trading partner, with bilateral trade totaling more than $500 billion. However, she's been waiting for the Senate to confirm her nominations since the Senate Foreign Relations Committee reported it to the Senate in November of last year by a vote of 12-7. It should be incomprehensible to anyone around the country to have a post of a top diplomat in one of our most important bilateral relations open for this long. But for Arizonans, it's particularly baffling. Arizona alone enjoyed a trade relationship with Mexico of nearly $17 billion last year. On the export side, Arizona exports about $9 billion in goods and services to Mexico every year, which, according to the Arizona Republic, quote, accounts for 41% of the state's exports, 4 times more than our state exports to our next biggest trading partner, Canada. According to the Arizona-Mexico Commission, quote, with an economy that now surpasses $1.3 trillion, Mexico ranks as one of the top 20 economies in the world. Mexico's economy has been increasingly focused on manufacturing, particularly since the signing of NAFTA in 1994. And more than $1 billion in goods are exchanged between the U.S. and Mexico every day. But the U.S.-Mexico relationship is about more than just our economies. Transportation issues, security threats, and natural resource management are just some of the fronts on which we cooperate with Mexico. The Arizona Department of Transportation recently signed a memorandum of understanding with Mexico's Ministry of Communications and Transport to study ways to improve the trade corridor that spans the border. Arizona alone shares 6 ports of entry with Mexico, and Phoenix's Sky Harbor Airport facilitates 122 flights a week to and from Mexico. All of this cooperation requires a close partnership between our 2 countries. The longer the U.S. goes without having an ambassador to Mexico, the greater the partnership will suffer. To my knowledge, the hold on this process is not based on any concrete concerns with the qualifications of this specific nominee. She enjoys overwhelming support. There is no reason not to move forward with this nomination. If there is opposition, then members should have the opportunity to express it. As such, I'll be asking unanimous consent for a time agreement with a roll call vote on her confirmation. There's simply no reason that we should not have an ambassador to Mexico when we have a candidate so qualified as Roberta Jacobson. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that at a time to be determined by the Majority Leader in consultation with the Democratic Leader, the Senate proceed to executive session to consider the following nomination. Calendar number 365, that there should be 30 minutes of debate only on the nomination, equally divided in the usual form, that upon the use of yielding back of time, the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate, that if confirmed, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid on the table, the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action, and the Senate then resume legislative session without any intervening action or debate.
Objection?
Mr. President.
Senator from Florida.
Mr. President, I agree the U.S.-Mexico relationship is one of our most important bilateral relationships, and we do need an ambassador in Mexico City that has a track record of effectively advancing U.S. interests. I do, however, have serious questions about the policies that Assistant Secretary Jacobson has pursued during her tenure in the Western Hemisphere Bureau. I've had conversations with the administration and others, like Senator Corker, about those concerns, and I remain hopeful that we can find a way to resolve this issue in the very near future. But until then, Mr. President, I object.
Objection is heard. Senator from Arizona.
Mr. President, I plan to return frequently, as long as it takes, to shed a light on this nomination and to make sure it moves forward. So I expect to be here tomorrow to do the same. I yield back.
Mr. President.
Senator from Iowa.